Okay, just realized that the microphone was turned off the whole time yesterday. So, hopefully I can add captions to make sense of things, or at least hopefully everything was relatively self-explanatory. So, as it sits, we have the Maverick rail that we've trimmed off. We cut off or shaved off the two protrusions on either side to let it drop in. And okay, yeah, and we're trimming this. Gonna trim some of this off there to move that up. Okay, there we go. Okay. There seems to be some kind of a structural wall of some kind in the front of this barrel thing. So you can kind of see right there that we cut up right next to. Wouldn't that be cool if we can file it down to, right flush with that, and this just drops right into place, and then we can use that front, or the back surface here, and the front surface here for another bonding surface. Actually, it might be kind of close. I think we can, yeah, file that down, and then we might be able to, well, at this point, we can still use this screw port. So I hate to, because I was going to say we can file into this a little bit if we need to. But we do have the screw port here, which I'm not sure how structural that one's going to be, since it is a relatively short screw. But, well, let's see. Let's go ahead and see if we can trim that off just a little bit. Okay, that's actually going to be super, super close, I think, because the okay, so if we line up basically the face, let's pull this in a little bit. It gets me every time. If we pull basically to the front of this screw port area, the round part, pull it up tight, then that puts the angle, the kind of slight inward angle of the front of the rail right basically to the point here that we were wanting in the first place. So I'm thinking that we can file a slot, because this kind of whatever the heck this is, this raised portion here, is narrower than the rail. So if we file out a section, where are we at? Whoa. To where the rail part kind of fits around slightly, then that'll pull it up to where we need it, instead of filing more out of the barrel part here and losing this, I guess you can make it call it a mating surface. And then that'll give us a little stronger joint there. And I'm not sure if it'd make any difference in the finished product if we notch this around this piece, or if we had just angled that a little bit and butted it up. But I think, yeah, well, for starters, I think I'm going to cut the rest of this off here. Now that we know that it's going to work as far as the distance up here, then we can trim off some of this junk down in here to let this piece drop down a little further. So let's make quick work of that. Yeah, a little more like that. I think it'll go down a little further. So actually, I think we can trim off these guys. Okay, that's actually dropping on there quite nicely. I'm really liking how that's fitting in there. There's a little width side to side, but once we get it in place and glued down, then there'll be a little DevCon that fills that anyway, and so that's actually better. I kind of like the idea of having just a little bit of DevCon in the joint instead of having the pieces buttered up right next to each other, because you have more of the adhesive part of things in there. So I'm actually perfectly okay with how that's fitting. And it's actually actually looking a lot better than I expected. Like, this is always the fun part of integrations, when you have an idea and you think, okay, I think this will work, and you start creeping up on it, and it's, you know, you're getting the pieces cut together, and then you realize that it's actually looking better than you expected in the first place. It's a very comforting feeling. The last thing you want to do is have the pieces fit together and say, oh, that doesn't even look as good as I was originally expecting. So that's positive. I'm feeling pretty good. Okay. So looks like, just kind of gauging, looks like we can just notch out the actual lower kind of inner part, you know, because the rails have kind of that raised sides and a lower spot in the middle. Looks like we can just file out the width of the lower spot off the front and get that to tuck in a little tighter. So we'll just do this a little bit. Okay, looks like the top part is pretty darn close, but the bottom papers out a little bit, gets a little wider. So I think if we, like I said, the top's really close, so I think I'll focus on widening the bottom a little bit before we go widening the top, just in case in the course of filing we end up moving a little material on the top while we're at it. So go ahead and put a little angle on this. Ooh, okay. That actually looks like it's fitting in pretty good. It needs to widen up just a little bit. It fits as it is, but the rail needs to come down a little bit. But we're running into running into the top of the barrel here a little bit still. I'm still hesitant to modify the screw post area, just because, like I said before, since we have like no screw ports in here at all right now. I just as soon maintain as many as possible. But then once everything's completed, we can decide if we can, you know, get rid of a couple, you know, for aesthetics. If you have like a billion little holes in one little spot, then, you know, we might say, hey, we'll just take some of the more crucial ones and then just fill the rest. Like I said, we'll kind of make that decision when we come to it. So that's fitting up there and looking a whole lot better than I expected. I like that a lot. Okay. Tentatively, looks like we could remove a little more material depth-wise in order to let the rail slide forward just a hair, just kind of eyeballing it a little bit. But I'm not going to make that call until we get it sitting down, like vertically down as far as we want it. So it looks like the only thing causing problems right now is just a little bit of clearance here. And it's just the screw port itself causing the issues, so I might be able to get a round file in there and you know, actually, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, wonder if I can just get because it's going to be hard to get a file in there and open it up, so I wonder if we can get the Dremel and just cut it. Yeah, okay, yeah. I think I'll just get in there like this and just kind of open up just a little trough. Then we can open up wider just a little bit and hopefully not affect the stampede rail parts. Or not rail, stampede pieces. Oh, hey. Okay, we're getting the front of the rail down, so you just need to trim off some of the back here where it's overlapping this piece. So that looks like it's about there. There we are. That drops it down on that side, and we just get this side caught up. Okay, so let's pull that in a little bit. Every time. Drops in like that. And actually looks pretty good. Like I said, I think I'm going to remove a little more material here, get it to pull in a little tighter. So let's do that. That's so cool. Okay, sorry. this just dropped in, and the top of this orange bit here, this raised portion, is like totally flush with the inside of the tack rail. So I think if this goes the way it's going so far, and we get everything all integrated, it's going to look like the rail like merges into the barrel part, and then it's going to flow in here, and it's, wow, that's wow. I did not expect that at all. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Okay. Boy, I'm just gonna revel in that for just a second. Whew. Wow. Okay. Looks like it needs to come down a little lower in the back, so it looks like we may be cutting into this after all. Just notching it out and then basically having the basically where like here where the shell comes out from the, like the rail turns into the shell, then basically have this part of the shell merge in there. So it'll be kind of a tricky joint, and it'll take a lot of filing to get it smooth, but I think it's going to be relatively worth it. So boy, I just can't really put into words how cool it is that this, I don't know, can I get that to focus? Is that in focus? I hope so, because that is just incredibly cool how well that turned out. I'm like really, really, really happy, because not only is it like a rail stuck on top, you know, like if we just taken a bit of rail and just slapped it on top of something, it's going to mold in with this piece that we added here, but also this kind of angled portion is kind of an extra bonus, because instead of just being straight, it's kind of like got a little more, I don't know, sass or kind of an aggressive look, where the rail kind of angles slightly, not so much that it's like, hey, this thing angles forward, but it's just kind of like, you know what, I'm just kind of angled. And so that point's going to basically blend into where this is pretty well. And yeah, the whole rail being like totally flush with the top, it's a little thing, and it's really probably not even worth mentioning, and it's probably not something you'd notice on the blaster when it's completed, but that's because it looks so darn natural. Wow, I'm really, really, really happy with that. Wow, really happy with that. Anyway, okay, moving on. So we're going to need to cut, and it looks like the width of this portion here that we're going to be cutting into, which is I guess the inner width of the rail, over here, is going to be basically the same width as the old iron sights were. So I think we can basically cut the line where the iron sights were, and then just this will drop right in. So this is going to be a little more delicate, so I don't want to have, I don't think I'm going to use the Dremel. So I think I can just sneak in, you know what, instead of trying to sneak it in there, I'm just going to split it. Pull it back out. And I'm just going to snip just on the inside of the line where the iron sight things were. That way we can file it for a beautiful fit, hopefully. But that is pretty darn close. Got a little trimming to do here. Just clean up this corner. And this joint here, just make it as straight as possible. Because as long as this is straight as possible, it'll be easier to trim this instead of trying to fit an irregular surface to another irregular surface. If you make one as straight as possible, it makes it easier to make the other one as straight as possible. So, okay, I'm trying to fit this in, and these little support pieces that I added in to help, align the stampede parts are a bit irregular, and so while one side is wanting to sit down nice, the other one's wanting to not jive. And while I could just notch out the rail here to fit around it, I think I'm going to hope that the DevCon I've added everywhere else is enough to hold it. And since we're going to be putting this in and bonding it all together, and once it's bonded it should support everybody, I think I'm going to remove these, because I know these are the same, and I know these are cut along the same lines. So that should be easier instead of trying to fit two known sizes or known variables together instead of trying to fit around something we're not sure what the measurements or anything are, or dimensions, I guess. So I'm going to hope that since I hot glued these in, and this is 3D printed parts, so hopefully, I mean, the DevCon doesn't really stick to the 3D printed stuff, as I learned in the past. So I'm hoping I can just kind of bust those out. Hoping. Maybe hot glue sticks like crazy, who knows? Now, this should just leap on in there. Except we got this in there as well, so. Trim that out of there, just so it's not causing us grief later. I'm not sure if it's gonna cause any fitment issues, but it's not doing anything positive for us, so we might as well get rid of it. There, now that's dropping in, that's dropping in. Still a little tension somewhere. Where we? Okay, it's just sitting in there. I just pulled the shell apart just a little bit to double check the height and stuff like that. There's still a bit of trimming to do back here. I'm just making sure that everything is still jiving. But for some reason, is it just this? Something is causing this to be kind of springy. I don't know if you can see that. So, just trying to look and see who's... There's a little bit of DevCon in there causing some... might be causing some issues, so we'll just kind of nick the corner off of that, and we'll do that too, just to give us a little breathing room, since there is some DevCon in these corners. I just don't want to be trying to fit it and say, oh, something must be causing problems. I'll just keep sanding on this back here, and then end up with it too wide. So I'm just trying to make sure that the fit... Okay, looks like it's still just a bit narrow on the very front, like my angle isn't quite aggressive enough, or steep enough, I guess, so I'm gonna bring that out a little bit more, because that might have been the one causing the problems. And again, if this notch here is a hair too wide, that's gonna be okay, because that'll just let the DevCon kind of goosh in a little bit more. I obviously don't want to have a gap, but if there's just a, you know, a hairline, you know, width that's too wide, and that's good, or still good, I guess. Obviously, you want to strive for a perfect fit all the time, but how often does that really happen? Unless you're that UnscrupulousModelfiler guy who, gosh, that's incredible fitment work he does. So, I don't aspire, well, I'd like to aspire to that. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, because I, for whatever reason, don't have that patience. Okay, just a hair wider at the top, looks like. Okay, well, it kind of looks like, adding to the really, really cool fit, is at the top of this little raised portion on the barrel is right about the same width as the inside of the rail, and the bottom, where it's widest, is, you know, basically wider than the outside. And so basically you can take the inside line here to the outside line there at an angle, and that looks like that's yeah, that's actually kind of cool how that worked out. Okay, so that guy's fitting pretty close. Somebody's getting in the way, though. Okay. Just a little bit of trimming on the bottom here to get the parts to line up. This is just where I couldn't get in close enough with the Dremel. So we'll just get in there with the blade that I need to replace, but it's the last one I have, and so I'm using every last little bit. Because I never think about, I'd hate to justify ordering these off Amazon, and there's only like one hobby store in the valley that even carries these things, because we have no hobby stores, and I don't feel like driving in to that side of town, like, ever. So Now, hopefully, this should just drop in and be, wow. Wow, that's really nice. Okay, now let's drop that in like that. And that's what we're left with. Looks pretty okay in my opinion. Now we just need to trim off the back. Okay. Yeah. I can totally live with that, I think. Okay, just a little bit more filing on the width back here to get the rail to drop in, and I think we can start hot gluing. It looks like we got a little more material we can remove on this side, just going off of the line from where you can see that the iron sights originally were. There's kind of a discolored line where I cut it off, so I'm just kind of going off of that. Okay, and that's how that's dropping together. So that fits in there, that's flush there. For the heck of it, let's try. Looks pretty darn close to me. I think we got some pretty level rails there. So a little bump there. Yeah, so I think we can align the shell here with where the shell or the base of the rail slot thing is there, and the top with this here, and looks like the seams line up, so I think we can get the hot glue gun going, get that tacked in place, and then lop the back end off here and shape it, which I think I'm going to maintain the way the line is here, where it's, you know, comes out of the jam door and straight up and then turns into the rail. Try to do that here and do the same kind of thing and mimic that. So let's heat up the hot glue gun.